Here are the Mazda OEM part numbers. All of them with tax cost me 230 bucks. When I was at the dealer, they said it would take about 3 hours for them to do it. So doing it myself is saving me 330 bucks is what they quoted me for the labor. As you can see, Mazda genuine part, made in Japan. There's the gasket, the 8 screws that I'm gonna need. Genuine parts with the Mazda. Here's the plate, made in Japan. And the last big unit right here, part number being right there. So before you start this job, you're going to want to remove the rear seat. On my rear seat, it's just 4 bolts. One goes there, there, 2 on the other side. You'll be able to lift it up, but then you'll have to reach your hand in between the seat and the back and just kind of push this, because there is a hook that goes around that. And then once that's undone, you can just slide it out, pull the seat out. And then if you see here, there's a little flap, just flip that over. And then this is the plate that you're gonna wanna just take your star screwdriver, remove the 4 screws. Once you get that open, this is what you have. All this wet looking rust is all penetrating oil. I've had it open and I soaked it down and stuff. And I broke free some of these bolts in here. But all it is are these little screws here. I think there's 8 of them, and that nut. What I did was sprayed them all down with penetrating oil. Take this small screwdriver and just kind of put it in there just to clean out some of the threads a little bit. I also took a little wire brush and just cleaned up the heads of them a little bit. I've got most of them all loosened off, so I'm just going to remove the ones that are loose. Alright, so I just figured something out. If you have rounded or screws that look like shit like that, all I just did was took a flat screwdriver bit, CRV 1/8, take and hopefully you can see it here, just line it up with the slots on the screws, give it a quick tap. They're small screws anyways, as you can see. Just tap it in there and break it free. This bolt right here, or this nut, is a 10 mil. So once you break that free, and before you get all the screws off, just take that off. The new plate does come with it. We remove that, get the rest of it off. Probably be a good idea to take this connector off. This is a fuel line, so we're gonna have to take that off too. So that clip just slides up like that. It's obviously probably going to be fuel that comes out. So be a good idea to put some rags down. Got all the screws out. Plate up and off. The only reason why I'm doing this too is because I have the smell of fuel and a little bit of a leak going, and I had a check engine light come on saying there was a small evap leak. So I figured out why it smelled like gas and it looked like it was leaking. If you take a closer look, those lines right there and over there are all cracks in the plastic. This is what the unit looks like. Again, the crack is right there. And right there. Alright, so let's tackle this. Got all the parts set out. Here's a retainer clip or whatever. There's a white one on the original one right here. This is the first time I've done this, so hopefully it goes good. Just kind of take a mental note of where everything's set and stuff. Got the two parts separated. This is the piece that we're gonna have to install onto the new one. Next up's just gonna be to take this fuel filter and stuff off. To get the fuel filter off, all it is 5 clips that slide onto these little hook things. What I did was start at one, move to this side, just kind of work your way around. Once you get the fuel filter off too, you're gonna have to pull these two things out, which I already did and moved them over. All it is a couple O-rings and a couple plastic collars that come with the kit. When you get this far, you can put the fuel filter back on. Although I have it hooked up now, I'm just gonna remove this wire from here, just so then it gives me a little bit more breathing room to work with. There's not a lot of room anyway. If you've gotten this far and you're having a hard time figuring out the retaining clip like I did, the two outside holders that clip there and there go on the 3 holders, if that makes sense. And then the one that goes right there by the gauge goes on top of those 2 holders, if that makes sense. So before you go and put it back together, this big hose right here, you have to kind of twist it and make it sit under there. It's a little more difficult. Hopefully this is working on the video. But all it does is sit there like that. Try to be gentle with it all. Easier said than done. All right. Just all right. Got the one side clipped in. Hopefully you can see this. Alright, so the fuel line sits down under in there. Just want to make sure you've got all the clips done up. Which, oh, that was fun. So if you managed to sit through all that while I struggled with that, this is what we've got. There's that fuel line going under there. The one the spring goes on is a little bit longer than the other one, and there's a slot at the bottom that this clip right here will clip it to. The way that I got that clipped is just compressed it down as low as I could get it, held it with my hand similar to that, and slid that clip on. Next up will be to reinstall this fuel line, which goes down there, tucks back into here, and then clips on that bottom piece. What I did to get this fuel line in is just took a pair of needle nose pliers and opened it up a little bit, slid part of it in, moved the pliers up to the top here, opened that up, slid it in, and then pushed it back to be in the seated area. I'm sure there's probably a proper way to do it, but that's what I did and it seemed to have worked. All that's left to do now is plug in the wires. I noticed too when I unplugged the wires from the old unit that they're a little bit of a different size. Wires are plugged in. I'll let you just take a quick look at that, just in case you need to know where they go. Only thing left to do now is put it back in. Keep in mind when you install the plate that this bolt goes through that hole. All I'm going to do now is just put in the screws, tighten them down a little bit, and then I'm going to go kind of like you do when you put tires on. I'm just going to do like a star pattern. Got all the screws, just set it in just to hold it down. Now I'm just going to go from here to this one, just to torque them down. Is a PH2. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Couple more things to do. Just going to clean this nut up a little bit. Got the nut on all snugged up. The fuel line here, before you clip it down, just clip it onto there. It will make like a snap sound as if it clips into place. And then just push that down. And that should be hopefully all she wrote. So there you have it. Changing the fuel pump assembly on a 2016 Mazda CX-5. Thanks for checking out the video. If I can do it, you can do it. I'm not a mechanic. It's the first time I've dove into this. So thanks for checking out the video. Press that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you in the next one.